Walking through the park, I seen you by yourself. Walking through the park, I seen you by yourself.
Remix.
Walking through the park, I seen you by yourself. Walking through the park, I seen you by yourself. Girl, when I'm going on the road, you know I don't wanna be alone. I'll be on it, on it, on it, on it, on it, on it. Girl, when I'm going on the road, you know I don't wanna be alone. I'll be on it, on it, on it, on it, on it. Girl, can you meet me out, from the hotel to the beach, we'll be on the creek, by the creek, every time we jump on the lead, kiss me and I'll kiss you back, girl, like a shot G. Kiss me and I'll kiss you back, girl, like a shot G. Tell me when you coming in. Got your other friends asking where the fuck you been. After once, girl, I bet you wanna come again. After once, girl, I bet you wanna come again. Thinking about your ex and bet you still in love with him. Girl, just tell me if it wasn't what it wasn't then. Why you turn around and still give me your number then? Listen, I might have to put you on my bucket list. I know what it is when you going through a phase. Be somebody there when you going through some things. I don't really know what be going through your brain. When you make decisions to be open in your lanes. Yeah, I ain't with the rip rap or the damn talk. Girl, we can skip that to another city. Your man is getting mad with a pity. Girl, tell me, is you coming with me? Yeah, girl, can you meet me out? From the hotel to the beach, we'll be on the creek, by the creek, every time we jump on the lead, kiss me and I'll kiss you back, girl, like a shot G. Kiss me and I'll kiss you back, girl, like a shot G. I'ma turn you up down, babe. I'ma turn you up down, girl. I'ma turn you up down, babe. I'ma turn you up down, girl. I'ma turn you up down, babe. I'ma turn you up down, girl. I'ma turn you up down, babe. I'ma turn you up down, girl. You don't even know me before. Touch your arms to the floor. You don't even know me before. Touch your arms to the floor. Girl, can you meet me up? From the hotel to the beach, we'll be on the creek, by the creek, every time we jump on the lead, kiss me and I'll kiss you back, girl, like a shot G. Kiss me and I'll kiss you back, girl, like a shot G.
Oh, for that. Don't. Flight 80s. Flight 80s, Flight 70s pop. And all for that. Flight 70s, Flight 80s pop. You know what I'm saying? Something for every genre, every circumstance, every foundation. And you rather spend time rapping about a drill. Or how you just got a deal. Or how you just bent your wheels because you want to drive in a city where Miami cars may not be sufficient at, or whatever the case may be. You know, pop goes the weasel. All your tires, it costs about $1,200 to change. You know what I'm saying? We gonna talk about some deep spirituality tonight. You know what I'm saying? So you could be able to understand too what you may be experiencing, because you either had one or the three, or you ain't here to be listening to this. You was born through, and here's the thing too. I'm an equilibrium type of spirit. None is better than the other. One actually was created to make things more smoother. So we get into scientific methods and create technology to make things easier based on the things we're already doing. Already giving birth. Sometimes melted taco meat, whatever the case may be, may get spoiled. May have to reroute. Now we got C-section. The waters and seas area part of the female. What is the area they could cut out that little C, you know what I'm saying? And that area. You know what I'm saying? And then you got one that, maybe it may have rush energy behind it, so it's premature. But whatever circumstance or situation it is, I don't want nobody being in a situation where they think one is better than the other. Because we always going to have people in a better situation than the person that's next to them. And then we may have a person that's next to them over exaggerate the worst position that they are in due to the fact of not knowing that things could be worse. So now they got this victimhood energy behind them. And a lot of people be wanting to justify reasoning based on what we're all going through personally, externally, and internally. So a lot of times, one of the main things humans want to do is find reasons that can explain some of the things that's most important in their life. And in these compartmentalized boxes in our lives, that'll be the negative things that have happened, things that wasn't in our favor, goals that may be going slow, pardon me, or over exaggerating what we may have done right when things was validated and it seemed like it went in our favor. So next time that joke may not get the same reciprocation as last time, but before we had that next time, we may have over exaggerate how we got the job done that first time. So we may think, let's do it the same time the next time because it might get the same reciprocation. And then that's when we start to experience life. It ain't what we do, it's how we do it. And you could be doing the what. That's the same thing as the what, as yesterday, as last week. But if you ain't changing up the what to how it's done, then for the most part, you're going to be predicating yourself on old and outdated energy. Even if it's something you accumulated yourself and reap the benefits from, and then you scared to switch it up due to the fact of that scared money don't make no money energy in the spiritual world. So you might be doing something, got a certain validation from it. You're a little scared to switch it up a little bit due to the fact of you didn't put more energy into the percentage scale of importance of the validation beyond your mind, other people's minds. And therefore, when you get into that space of wanting to do something free or wanting to do something that ain't particular catered to that circumstance, but is more germane to what you personally want to do, maybe a little harder for you to shake it, maybe little harder for you to get out of that old light into that new light. And that new light may have been something that was dissolved in that old light the whole time. It was inside of you the whole time. May have been something you was even doing on your own time. Yet whatever you have crowded yourself around and the people, places, and things you accumulated that come with it, a lot of times become spiritual pressure when it ain't going in your spiritual direction that you want it, that's comfortable for your comfort zone. So a lot of times it's that be careful what you ask for, because we may get some things that we may need a little bit more external assistance for. You know what I'm saying? So that, and then just me generalizing that these are pockets of reality that we all could find, similarities in or whatever. But when we start to understand things on a percentage scale, you'll be able to kind of compartmentalize who's experiencing what more on a percentage scale. And then that's what breaks this down as far as this live stream. But before we even get into that, right, disclaimer, get into, the moon, get ready to get into Pisces or however the case may be. So that's a sextile energy. So these are going to be opportunities if you've been doing things right. As the moon been waxing, get ready to fill up to that new moon energy or whatever the case may be. Waning or however the case. But for the most part, being in a situation of, if you've been doing the moon, reacting and responding with your own energies, even if your own energies wasn't aligning. So, it all starts with but you may have to deal with a frustration a lot better. You may have dealt with it last week or however the case may be. And as long as you was in that energy, you was in a free enough space to be able to be aware of what the moon was in and what energy to be aware of itself, as you already developing that equilibrium energy to separate your bias while knowing that you still have a bias. So not allowing it to get in the way, but allowing it to be that form of protection also, you know what I'm saying? So it's not getting rid of it. It's almost how you could look at it like the ego. It's not getting rid of it, but it's allowing it to be there when it's a healthy, what they call that divine masculine. When you have healthy divine feminine, that's just having emotional intelligence. When you have healthy divine masculine, you allow your ego to become your insecurities. So your insecurities become your strength, not your weaknesses that you're hiding. And then you cover it up with an overcompensation of internal light, this thought, this idea you pull from here, some you made up about yourself that steer people away from that space being open or however the case. And then that takes a long time to uphold, because when a person is giving their testimony that people appreciate, it's because they're in a better position from the negative scenarios that becomes the positive way of receiving gossip and being able to know how you could be wise and not be in a foolish situation, but also experience the wisdom from someone who's in a wise position who may have went through foolish things that they have done it so you don't have to go through it, or however the case may be. You know what I'm saying? But all of these is just energies of understanding where the moon is at. Now, if the moon is in Aries, then it's in Taurus. These are the energies that you need to be reacting and responding to due to the fact of it just being in Capricorn. It's in Aquarius now. So I just broke that down last live stream. React and respond to your associations. A lot of y'all are seeing that due to the fact of some of the things, these people that you are associated with, or things that's part of your associations, it kind of been an instability, kind of been holding you back, kind of placed you in a negative situation in some way, shape, or form. So a lot of y'all been having to recalibrate that at the moment. Now, if you haven't been on the path of reacting or responding to Capricorn, Aquarius, now that the moon in Pisces, you might not be in no free space right now to be able to react or respond to the mutable water energy that it wants us to. So that means reacting and responding to your own and other people's emotions and feelings. So that takes automatically into hypotheticals, and hypotheticals lead into imagination. And imagination, if you know how to harness it, it won't get the best of you to the point that you start to prejudge and be wrong about the circumstance you in. And then what became, or what could have been creative, become a self-delusion, and a person expressing it become a person who think they look like they need a straitjacket. So a lot of times when you don't understand that these is what's going on, you may be reacting and responding to the wrong things and then get the best of yourself. So you pass up on energy, or you pass up on being able to perceive what may be the wrong way of going about something due to the fact of you in some fixated way of that validation that I broke down earlier, as a master orator. You know what I'm saying? You may have got validated on something, and you like, this the right way to do it again. But if you're dealing with different people, places, and things, and ultimately, even if it's the same people, places, and things, it'll be a different scenario or a slightly different situation. You always have to adjust, start to be adjustable. Now, if you don't know how to be adjustable, you get rooted, and then you get highly upset when things outside of you don't match that adjustability. So that could be a person, place, or thing. And then you get over-exaggerated frustration within yourself when it comes to your jobs and something go wrong and not in your way, or your relationships and something go not in your way. You know what I'm saying? Or your business endeavors, or however you do your 1-2, or whatever the case may be. And a lot of times you give off the energy of, you go overboard on things that may not be even considered that big of an issue to be responding that way, or however the case may be. And it take you a lot of interactions with other individuals to start to realize maybe it's not them, maybe it's you. And maybe these individuals may be going through the same situation as you. They're just not reacting to it the way you're reacting to it. And you may be missing something to why they're not reacting to it the way you're reacting to it. And you may be in a constant repeat cycle until now you reach that stage that many others that you probably was interacting with have already been. And now you understand. Don't be showing your ass at work thinking you could do everything in a blue moon and stuff like that. And then the manager start having you do everything that you start to wonder why everybody else ain't doing it, but you still getting paid the same. And then 6 months later, you understand what I'm saying now too. You know what I'm saying? You understand. Read the room. To make all that simple, to make that whole description simple, learn how to read the room. Y'all just ain't had nobody describe it to y'all what it means. So a lot of y'all be thinking y'all be reading the room. You be reading how you're getting ready to manipulate something, how you're getting ready to create, how you the better person and stuff. You know what I'm saying? That's what a lot of y'all be into. A lot of y'all got to stop that sometimes and get into a better position in your life. But for the most part, as the moon start to transition into Pisces, it's going to make everybody, not make, but it's going to be the energy of where we see the sun at during this particular time. So that's creation, transition, Passover, right? So that's already imagination. What comes to be that that was already there? That could be an add-on. So that bush and that tree and that fruit tree was there last spring. So it's getting ready to be there, or somewhere around that area. And it may have something different. Maybe some black walnuts one day, and next year, however the case. So you get to imagine, because you get that the sun being in that space create that type of scenario indifferent than any other sun position based upon timing and experience or whatever the case. And during Pisces time, we get ready to experience Aries. So that means we at the end of winter, get ready to go into the beginning of summer. You don't experience that no other time, so forth as all the other signs and things of that nature got its own particular. But for the most part, when it comes into this particular, that energy itself is, if you're sensitive to life, you're able to see how that characteristics even play out beyond you and you having those qualities being born from that bubble in that time as a zodiac. You can see it as the animals at that time. You can see it as the transition seasonal at that time based upon geographical location, because that's why time zones exist. So I'm not talking about anywhere else but New Worldia, America. I'm not talking about no Eastern Sidereal. I'm not talking about nothing else. You on this time zone. And then if you're on the East Coast, you ain't even on the West Coast time zone based on 3 hours apart or whatever the case may be. So 22 days before and 22 degrees before, it's the same type of concept. So don't even let nobody tell you a sidereal chart is more important than a Western chart and you stay on the Western hemisphere. Automatically you getting rocked to sleep by default. Somebody had to make up something about, you just tied it to yourself, and you were so lost, you made that important. You woke up one day, watched Walt Disney and Cinderella, and you was like, yeah, that's why Cinderella was like that or whatever. So that's why my sidereal chart got something to do with my soul. And everything y'all talking about ain't got shit to do with no soul. Got everything to do with your traumas, your problems, right over here in the Western Hemisphere when you went to the goddamn Arab store. That's the only problem. You had to go pay your damn bills and go to the gas. But you know what I'm saying? Go to the damn water department and stuff. That's it. That's all. It ain't about nothing else. Anything else, you waiting on to be able to do it through online. That's it. Anything else, God, you got lost somewhere. You know what I'm saying? You need to go somewhere and shake that ass over there on the China corner or over there in the Eastern corner or something, and make some of their dollar faces with some of their grandkids on them brown dollar bills or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Other than that, we going through a recession over here, baby. You better believe it. You better believe it. You know what I'm saying? But other than that, like I said, when we just start to talk about the moon going into Pisces, reacting and responding to mutable water, being mutable and being able to adapt to your own and other people's ways of dealing with the emotions and feelings. That means being a chameleon and not getting in the way when it's not necessary. A lot of times y'all be trying to help people. A lot of times you be over exaggerating what kind of mood a person in. So you start to react internally and externally around that, and it could be a prejudging. Then you create a false sense of how this person see you. Then a lot of y'all start to build relationships on that pretense. Then when it's time that you start to realize this ain't the way you like to be fixated, or this ain't the right position you like in this relationship or whatever, you got to do some bridge burning type scenarios to even get out of it. And a lot of times it's how y'all friends become enemies, or a lot of times the friends you had, y'all ain't got them no more. You know what I'm saying? It'd be those type of situations. You start to realize that wasn't you, or you changed. No, you ain't changed. You just was living a false life the first place and stuff like that. You develop some type of ego and characteristic you didn't got from high school, and how everybody look at each other and everybody doing the same thing. You got that. And then you start getting older and start realizing you ain't even around those type of situations no more to play out that character. You claim you changed. No, you ain't changed. You just was never that in the first place. You just always was lost in social norms. That was it. That's one thing we gotta start realizing too. We always be lost in social norms. And people die off social norms. People get robbed off social norms. People get scammed off social norms. You know what I'm saying? And goddamn, when females get horny, beep, beep, die. Social norms. You know what I'm saying? Y'all already know. Just go watch that Tupac interview. He said it best. So you don't need no other quote. You don't need no other quote in your life. Once you learn that quote, you good to go. It ain't about nothing else. Stuff don't be about nothing else. You know what I'm saying? But other than that, like I said, when the moon going to Pisces, a lot of people may be even delusional at this time. So they might be in a situation where they attach their problems to you. They may blame you for their problems. And the sun is in Taurus. It could develop some situation where it become fixated until the rest of the month. So as the moon start to go into as the moon start to go into Aries, then it become a new moon and things of that nature. That might be new situations where people that you was previously connected to not in that new scenario, and it may hurt your heart if you're on the negative side of it, or it might be something you had to do if you're on the positive end of it, but the other person on the negative end of it because they was the negative part of your life, however the case it may be. But it's always about being on timing, and for the most part, these ain't things you got to overthink. You just got to know what energy is going on, and you'll start to see, man, there's something going on anyway that's forcing you to react to it. You just got your own will, and you could choose to react to it properly, and sync, or you could choose to not care about it, and there's more distractions in your life that these things is built off on anyway. And all you gotta do is learn these things, and any person, place, or thing, you're more deal withable, and you know how to deal with all walks of life. And so that's the situation you want to be in, because it's all about finding ideologies that you don't have to be in a space of uncomfort, and uncomfort means unfamiliarity, and unfamiliarity means you don't have no spiritual cloth. Your space, your soul, your spirit don't have no thought, no frame of thought, no example there, no memory there. And anytime you're in that space, you're forced to develop in your creation space again. But when it's for a scenario that was built off of something already created from multiple people, like a situation that you in, is you're developing fast for context that's already in existence that you have to add on. So once you're developing so many thoughts and feelings at one time, it develop as too much blood and adrenaline at one time, and this would develop nervousness, because all that blood rush going through your veins, your nervous wire and Virgo system. So for the most part, when you don't have spiritual sheltering, that's where nervousness come from. And spirituality allows you to understand these are some of the main goals. These are some of the main importance, because the calmer, or even if you have to be sporadic, the more intentional you are in a situation, the more you have control over it. So intentions come from know-how, and the know-how come from being aware. And when you lack awareness, even when you're submerged in awareness, a lot of times awarenesses get the best of you, because you'll go through a situation that was negative, yet after the situation is already too late, you knowing what you should have done. And that's something we all know. This is how you get into the spiritual world of being more of the wise individual other than the fool, or however the case. But that takes spiritual growth, and that takes seeing your situations you're going through from an equilibrium, distant perspective, while going through it from your biases and knowing what's being developed. So a lot of times we develop more pressures on ourselves or others involved before we separate ourselves from the situation and see how to deal with the pressures itself on their own, then use the pressures at will, and then it play out as you're doing them at the right time. And even if it's a time where it's a will of fighting fire with fire, it's going to be in a justified train of thought, line of reasoning, warrior red path. And then for the most part, that's when God give you grace and consideration. And when the universe, all possibilities, is in that's the substance that's being created, you're in that substance. Everybody is a participant, but whoever was against you getting ate up by mosquitoes that day and all that stuff, like, even if y'all in judge or whatever the case may be, the judge will have a thought of being more lenient on you than whoever else involved on a more negative end or whatever, even if they're not here no more. And it's because God gave you the power to do it. You won't have nothing in history being mad at you about nothing. People will be able to look back and be like, "Well, that's justified. Oh, I get it. Oh, okay, I get it. I understand. I would did the same thing." You know what I'm saying? Once you got that energy, you probably born again anyway. Listening to somebody else like, "Yeah, that's something I would have did." You already did it. People didn't got all that from you. You get ready to come up with an old, colder idea to do it again. And your second, the third, fourth, fifth. A lot of y'all been here too many times, to tell you the truth. It's still retarded. Y'all don't be using y'all common sense that you know you ain't got from this lifetime, but you know you could use it for this lifetime and to make this lifetime better. You said like oh, that's how I already know how to play piano or something, like whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? Y'all better start understanding where your spirit been. Where your spirit been. Now, let's get into the live story. Get ready to go to the Matrix. You know what I'm saying? So you can know there's a distinct path also. So, and all that was based on letting y'all counterpartmentalize in y'all mind what percentage scale mean. Because everything, even the odds, of course, there's going to be things that we all experience similar, but there's going to be things that's particular to you. And we could generalize that in a field of reality too, within the context of this live stream, when we get into C-section, natural womb, or if you was prematurely born. Because these things are set paths. And here's the thing. We're going to be like, a lot of people might be like, oh, this is pseudo, or however the case may be. We're going to break it down. You know what I'm saying? Because you still got your own life. And you got your own path. Like, for an example, it's literal. If you was born through a C-section, I was born through C-section. If you was born through a C-section or regular or whatever like that, you probably got a relative, family, friend, associate, co-worker that didn't. That's a path. In all reality, before you want to get lost in what maybe Madame Goblisky was trying to consider the word path and slap the meaning on it, and then created some circumstance where everybody's destiny end up in prison or something like that. But let's check this out, right? Natural womb birth. So now, natural womb birth, right? having to do things in traditional ways, and the moment you do things untraditional, and when we talk about traditional, that just means a regular way of doing something. That's like if we all skipping rocks, if we all plucking fruit from a tree, there's going to be a natural way of the what of everybody doing it, how they're doing it, that really don't ruffle any feathers, positive or negative, give no extreme attention or any kind of more attention than it deserves. No more, nothing more, nothing less attention. You know what I'm saying? But then you have other circumstances when it become, oh, this is the natural way of plucking the fruit off the tree. So look at it like that to put y'all in a certain mind frame. So natural wound, right? Having to do things in traditional way. And the moment you don't do things and you kind of like going against the grain or whatever the case, your life can become chaotic. Now we're going to get into detail. I just want to generalize it real quick. So y'all can start to sit back too and be like, yeah, I was born naturally. You might got a friend, family, associate, coworker that was born regularly or C-section or prematurely, and you will be able to, throughout this live stream, you will be able to piece up situations in your own life, piece up situations you experience by talks or you actually experience with your family, friends, and associate, coworker, and be like, well, damn, that do kind of makes sense a little bit in some way, shape, or form. And it's kind of like a train of thought and line of reasoning because things set us on a path. It's like if one group of people was learning how to play chess and another group of people was learning how to play football and basketball, right? They're all set on different paths. That don't step in the way of their personal life and what they can agree on. They may all like wrestling. They may all get together and create other things, a game together. But when they go out and about, right? One is on the path of, I still got to go to basketball practice to get better. One is on, I still got to study chess or whatever because I'm in this Chinese school or however the case it may be. You see what I'm saying? So I just want y'all to look at things from a spiritual perspective and get out of so much of your biases. So when we start to get into certain terms like set on a path, your mission or what may be before you or your beginnings and where something may lead, you don't get lost in a Harry Potter fantasy of it, and you'll still be able to break it down what it actually means literally, because literally if you was born in a C-section and your sister or brother was born naturally, that's literal. You know what I'm saying? Before we even get into the aspects of allegory and being able to tie if it's relatable and sync enough, because the more it's unrelatable, the more it's uninsync, the more a person is out their mind and don't know how to gather things together in their foggy fart man cloud land. You know what I'm saying? But the more it's in sync and relatable with reality, the hypothetical become in the position of what's actually first anyway. So it's going to make sense because before we even got the physical, it had to be accumulated and condensed into it from the spiritual. So when a person is in sync and relatable, it can appear that they have far out ideas that make all the sense in the world when it comes to reality without even using a reality-based thing to describe it. Yet the parable got everything to do with what's going on in reality. And that's when you know it's a person in spiritual sync. And that's for all ethnic groups, because you can even see that in the Bible. Even if it's people that's calling us that soul certain things, they would have had to been in a certain spiritual space. So everybody got the gift. Everybody got the gift to be spiritual or whatever. So don't ever, even if you a race beta or whatever the case may be, all ethnic groups got some type of spirituality or whatever, whether they choose to use it or not, and whether you and your bias or not, you may be not using yours enough. You see what I'm saying? Now, when it comes into C-section, right? C-section, having to cut corners from traditional ways because traditional ways hold you back. Now, remember, going back to the example of what's traditional. Now, there's a lot of falsicities out here. So we could just say, what will be a natural way of a person hungry and going to pluck a fruit if that was the first thing we was all doing or whatever the case may be. There's a way of doing it that doesn't cause any sporadic moments when it comes into negative or positive until we start to reach those scenarios. It may be a negative sporadic moment where a person steal the fruit. We ain't see them pluck it because they was hungry and they ain't get it the first morning when everybody's supposed to get served. There may be a positive way where a person learn how to do a backflip in a cartwheel and jump through fire hula hoops like Simba of Lion King and get the fruit. So it ain't the natural way anymore. They make a spectacle. We want them to get the fruit for everybody now, whatever. So before we even get into that, that would be a concept of cutting corners. C-section. Having to cut corners. Traditional ways hold you back, or you end up being in another situation when we start to get into the deep describing of it. Now, premature birth. Premature birth. needing to develop a proper foundation before getting into anything. And before we even get deep, I'm pretty sure you probably, the first couple of words I just said, if you was born prematurely, pretty sure you could probably counterpartmentalize all kind of stuff in previous situations in your head just off that, like, yeah, damn, yup, I needed that for that because that's why that ain't go right. Yup, that's why that job wasn't right. Yup, because I ain't had that proper foundation or whatever, or that assistance or that person, because it's almost like a crutch or a rush. And sometimes you jump, it could be the same scenario and outcome in a lot of scenarios because you jump into things too fast, even at that time too, or whatever. But we'll break down all that. Now, the reason why I want to break down this other disclaimer is for all the individuals that might think certain things are pseudo or whatever the case may be. Beyond the birth, right, the physical life matches the spiritual life after things are already done spiritually. Let that soak in. The spiritual word may take you off your space. We all got a space. So if wasn't nothing in your space, no mind that condensed to become a physical brain, organ, heart, lungs, or whatever the case may be, right? You still the observer. So if you know you got different mind states and you know you had thoughts that you don't even think about that you probably forgot 5 years ago when you was a baby, yet you're still the individual, the observer, whatever. So what is that? That ain't your mind. If you observing your mind, changing and getting rid of them and things of that nature. So you're the creation, not the creator, however the case, right? So you don't like the word spirit, your space from observation, right? So you observing your own mind and your own body, and then you filter that out externally, observing other people's body and then their mind, and then you don't know if you believe in the spirit or not, the space. You know what I'm saying? But it play out like that. You from your spirit, first body, your mind, then your physical body, then external. And then you use that external layers, even from your physical, to see other people's physical first, to try to understand how they mind from your perspective of your mind, right? So that's within them. And then that could tell you where they're at spiritually, if a lot of y'all even get that far. A lot of y'all stop in the mind and be like, where they at? Is this a person a scammer? Where they at? Can I get over them? Where you stop there, not knowing what kind of person that person is, if they're wearing something, is they really that type of person or not. You might develop concepts of justifying why to take advantage of them and all kind of stuff y'all go through in y'all head based off lies. American lies. You know what I'm saying? Now, for the most part, beyond the birth, the physical life matches the spiritual life after things are already done spiritually. Due to the path you're set on is inevitable. For example, it's mystical, mythical, and physical, because the closed-minded will see this as pseudo by the fact of me saying the phrase, you're set on a path, but in all actuality and reality, your mother actually had to do different things with you based on if you was born via natural womb, C-section, or prematurely, which by default means different paths, experiences in itself. It's just when you know how to spot characteristics that spring off from this same concept, you could start to counterpartmentalize the percentage scale. You don't get caught up in trying to find how something is similar or not connected at all through the lens of how something is subjectively or biased to, or how you're hearing stuff. You see what I'm saying? Because here's the thing. When you think it's pseudo or whatever, right, you'll find yourself being more invested into trying to find how something is similar or how something is totally, completely different without finding the small nuances of how they're connected and different at the same time and understanding that perception. If everything is condensed from light and air, it may be part of the same thing, but what makes it different is the velocity, volume, mass, and a position and a location, right? So it's a different structure of the same substance. So once you understand it in that, you will start to be like, okay, this is how the same mechanism transition appears in this locational aspect. This is how the same transitional aspect happens in this locational aspect without you trying to separate from one or the two. You see what I'm saying? And then y'all get lost because you have to describe it like it's separate at the same time, getting too far into that form of intelligence, if you want to call it that, for lack of better words, leave you from not being aware how they're connected and what makes them separate. See what I'm saying? So when you don't get into that train of thought and line of reasoning, you lack wisdom at whatever you're starting to look at, because it's going to be filtered through this concept already. Your own bias, and that thing independently biased on its own via person, place, or thing, or circumstance, or whatever. And a lot of y'all don't even go as far in the mind as y'all biases if it's a dislike or a like. You know what I'm saying? So you start not even understanding life. You only start understanding your dislikes and your likes, and then y'all barely understand that. Because you'll go so hard for your likes, it become a dislike. You will dislike your stuff so hard, it start to appear you like it. So a lot of times it seems like y'all like hating. Y'all like the stuff that ain't good for y'all, whatever the case may be. And the stuff y'all supposed to like or whatever, seem like y'all push it away. Y'all hide it. Y'all don't, you know what I'm saying? It don't, know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't know what kind of world y'all done got into or whatever the case may be, but these are how things be. But for the most part, just when you know how to spot characteristics that spring off from the same concept, you can start to counterpartmentalize the percentage scale of how, okay, if I was born regularly or C-section wise or prematurely, these starting points kind of play out in situations in my regular life in that same grounding, even if I'm not experiencing birth at the moment. So when I'm in the middle of giving birth to circumstances and situations, maybe these may be grounded on the same characteristics. Maybe these things, and when y'all start to be aware of that, you'll be able to catch it. You'll be able to see the small neurons of life, more smaller in this aspect. Life is broad, life is infinite. This one subject matter. You know what I'm saying? But when having this train of thought, line of reasoning, you, even if you want to get inspired and you like kind of directing it towards your creativity and things of that nature, that makes it a lot more fruitful. And then you don't get all dry when a creative space of yours get outdated, and then it takes that breaking time of space for you to develop more creative spark again and more inspirations. And a lot of times that can take longer than it's supposed to, because we got to be juicing up our creative, our gold that we be having out there. It can't just be letting it get dust. You know what I'm saying? You don't use it, you'll lose it. You don't use it, you'll lose it. You know what I'm saying? So for the most part, so you have to understand we're all connected. And you could be too connected to through your lens of bias or subjectivity, where you're trying to find how something may be too much alike, or maybe how it's something too much separate, without looking at how something is separate due to the fact of how we're all connected in the first place. And that just takes you back to the mechanism. And once you understand the mechanism, you like, all right, this takes me out of my distractions and show me the mechanism of why I got this distraction in the first place. And if I could get a hold of that mechanism, the distraction plays out much more better. And I can control the distraction now. The distraction don't control me. Now it ain't what you do, it's how you do it. You could be entertained by with the same things other people entertained by, eat the same bull crap other people eat, whatever the case may be, but you low key know how to do it the right way, and you know how to stop when it's time to stop. So it goes beyond learning how to do something in moderation. It goes like spiritually, kind of like how y'all look at praying over food. You put a different essence in whatever you're doing than someone else. For an example, you can live in the hood. You and your janky friend got guns, right? But you got a different energy you put in yours, to the point that it also lead into your actions. You know, you ain't about to up it on nobody unless it's time to use it or whatever. Then, even if y'all not in that situation, that character play out in other pockets. Your friend might not got that character, so it play out in other pockets even when y'all ain't upping it on nobody. They the first person to want to show it off all the time and things of that nature. It could be a cop driving by, whatever, anything, or whatever the case may be. So the energy they put in it start to become the circumstances and situations also. So even if it's a negative scenario itself, it's still highly dependent on the spirit, as an independent spirit, to take full responsibility on the energy it's emanating, the thought and the feeling and the emotion, and where it's directing that energy into whatever inanimate object, all the way to the negative scenario I just explained, because we from the hood. But other than that, it's letting you know it's important to be aware of the intent and the counterpartmentalizing on the mechanism, because anything that you get distracted in come from the mechanism in the first place, or it wouldn't be there. And you could be like, oh, I don't care about what he's talking about. It's time to get this money. Trust me, bruh. Trust me, homegirl, you understand the mechanism, your time of be getting money will be a lot more smoother and you will have a lot more smiles on your face throughout the days than you will be able to look at previously or the people you around and their energy of trying to get it. And we know all that energy that we be in trying to get it, man, it ain't always fun. You see what I'm saying? Sometimes it's cutthroat. But at the same time, you come up with more healthy, sufficient ways to even be out the way. There ain't nothing better than that to get your 1-2 together and you could be out the way a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Because when you got to stay in the field and get your 1-2 together, man, and all bets off, lock your car doors. You see what I'm saying? But for the most part, now, because let's get ready to thunderstorm. I like this cuddling weather right here. But yeah. So, because we can find, now we always can find experiences that's similar even throughout the different starting points, but the percentage scale of things will show you who experiencing something more than the other experiences or whatever the case may be. So this will allow you to separate in your mind so you'll be able to point to, not just be so lost in reality, so you'll be like this pseudo, you'll be able to actually point to, okay, yeah, that may spring from a person in C-section. That may spring from a person who had a natural womb birth. That may spring from a person who was prematurely born based upon that starting point and me seeing it from this perception, not just the perception is if that person getting money or not. You see what I'm saying? Because y'all get lost into, oh, this person lines got certain hands, they got a certain nose, this mean they gonna make money. Man, ain't none of them grandkids on that green Polaroid picture and none of their descendants today give a damn about a line on your hand. I don't give a damn about your nose or whatever the case may be. You lost in some goddamn. You know what I'm saying? Real stuff. Last time I checked, ain't no bank said, let me look at your hand. Okay, we gonna give you this free loan or something like that you ain't got to pay back. Let me see what. I don't remember saying. I don't remember none of Malcolm Blisky descendants or whatever the case may be making them goddamn dollar bills with your goddamn lines on your nose and hand in mine. So y'all know what y'all gonna be somewhere lost in a casino with Offset somewhere. Shout out to Offset. Talk about, yeah, I got a certain nose. My hair was itching today. I'm about to go to the casino and bump Offset. You keep doing. You keep going. You keep going there. Oh, don't put her that. Don't put her that. You keep going. On TikTok too long. TikTok brains. YouTube after hour brains. Oh, put her that. So we ain't nothing else to watch. Let me get on like something to make me feel good. Oh, I got this certain line in my head. Yeah, shit. But a bill just like all of us rest. Now let's check this out, right? Now, this situation plays out in other areas of life. For example, when we start to get into regularly born, through the womb, C-section, or prematurely born, right? Natural womb birth means your beginnings of a situation should start your beginnings of a situation should start off as traditional or regular ways of doing something, because by you not going against the grain at a birth stage of a situation or whatever the case may be, you're like the example of how something is supposed to go through smoothly. You know what I'm saying? You're supposed to be the representation of, oh, that's the traditional way of an apple. Ain't no time for that sporadic way. Ain't no time for prematurely thinking and being nervous before you get it, or over-exaggerating it and stealing it before anybody else could get it because you thought you wasn't going to get your turn the next day, or however the case may be. See what I'm saying? The goddamn elementary school breakfast line. But when it comes to natural womb, this means your beginnings of any situation that you get into should start off as the traditional way or regular way of doing something, because by going against the grain at the birth of any stage or situation, once you start trying to go against the grain, you will only create destruction in that situation, not birth. So you're supposed to be the representation of the standard way of going about something. So like, let's say if you had a natural birth, and let's say there have been a lot of things that was going right, like things you probably don't even think about, and think about the things that start to go wrong in your life, or things that went wrong in your life. 9 times out of 10, I guarantee it got something to do with that time you tried to switch something up, or that time you thought you was clever, or that time you attracted someone who was in that energy. They thought they was clever, so maybe you have took their advice, or maybe you was on the opposite end of the stick where they was in a position of taking advantage of a situation, right? You was caught in a situation that wasn't a natural way of going about it. It wasn't the traditional way of going about it. And it play out more destructive for individuals who was born through the natural womb than other individuals that may got to play other certain games, even if we talk about negative or however the case may be, right? Due to the fact of it's like a set path. A lot of times when y'all think about the stuff that y'all do, you kind of on a set path already because the people you're around. It may be in a certain way of how your mother interacted with her brothers, which would be your uncle or her sisters or whatever, right? So you end up just being an after effect of that same circumstance. They may have added you to something they was already doing or however. So sometimes that become your frame of thought or whatever. That becomes a tradition or a regular way of going about something in your manner. So a lot of times when you try to go against, if you have a family condition like that, these be family conditions that go beyond tradition that we don't be realizing because it's really habit, right? And when you're in urban communities and stuff like that and all ethnic groups are scattered, these be the things y'all developing and don't look at it like maybe that's developing a new identity or culture, just may have a lot of negativity on it or whatever the case may be. And a lot of times it might be a way your family have already doing something. So you're already on that train of thought and line of reasoning, and any form of resistance will put you in a negative situation. And here's the crazy part about it, especially if you're in an urban area. Everybody trying to become successful, right? And let's say you part of a family that's unsuccessful or whatever the case may be. But you found some creativity that looks similar to someone else succeeding or whatever the case may be. It might still be impossible for you to make it or whatever because you're not going to have the brain power support. Mind been in to become adrenaline, to become actual things in reality and actual people to support, right? Just due to the fact of you needing 90% of external individuals from your familiarity automatically put you last, automatically put you behind or unimportant in that area in some way, shape, or form. So if you don't know how to do it in the way of the familiarity that you're in, because by default it become your tradition, it become your natural way of doing something, then that goal or whatever the case may be, you'll never reach the highest potential of it, just due to the fact of it's not your beginnings of naturality, and the naturality that you're coming from, things have to be played out in that manuscript. So I know it's unfortunate because a lot of the times what we're calling success is a lot of things made up by Walt Disney anyway. So you supposed to already have your own family and culture. Y'all made up sports. Y'all made up. But at some point, this is the time we in. You're in America. You know what I'm saying? But you know what I'm saying? At the same time, if it's even in positive situations, this would make family businesses run through smoothly and stuff like that. But just on a broad scale, we want to take it off from physical stuff. Just looking at tradition and in a way separate from monetary gain, where it's just a collective of individuals doing something as a team. And you may not look at it that way due to the fact of it may have negative pretense on it. It may have a lot of survival tactics on it. So things that Walt Disney made us watch to go outside, and we had to develop survival tactics around. So a lot of these things may become how your uncle, aunties, or however your family, or lack of, right? You know what I'm saying? You may be in a situation where you develop some creativity and you ain't got a lot of family. Family died, then separated. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of natives and a lot of mixed Native Americans and things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? We don't have a lot of family or whatever the case. So whatever that you're into and things of that nature, you can't lean on that either. If you don't know how to find a way to do it on your own, you're not going to be able to find external assistance as someone else that might be in their own little family, but they family give them a lot of validation. They got a lot of other people around them to boost them up when they feel down about whatever other people did. Hey, your uncle played football. Won't you do or just that and the third or whatever, right? That's an energy buildup. So that energy goes beyond their family. Strangers and people they start to get to know respond to them in that same way or slightly in that way because it's the way that they're moving their elbow. You know what I'm saying? Beyond it, the elbow. Y'all know I'm just making that an example. But it's a mannerism type of thing. It's kind of like you get treated the way you want to be treated by your actions. And these is going down into the little neurons of it that we're developing, that we're not paying attention to, that we're carrying on, and it's still playing out in that same way. And a lot of times, let's say you're in a different position. You may have been born through a C-section or prematurely, right? And you may be creative or you may be born as a natural birth. But these are just counterpartmentalizing circumstances. And you may be creative or whatever the case may be. But let's say you in a situation where you don't have that energy, someone else have or whatever, right? But you may be in a situation where whether it's natural birth, you're not doing something traditionally, C-section, you're not cutting corners prematurely, you're not conducting your energies of prejudging or whatever, or you're not conducting the energy of not jumping the gun too fast or whatever, right? You might be in a situation of thinking that you're just as good, but you're gonna be working just as hard because you're not doing it from your starting point. See what I'm saying? So no matter how much you express, there will always be some grace, justification, or excuse in that realm that another person would give to that person to make it appear that they still deserve that position over than you. And the more you try to fight it, other than observing, I know it's no school for this. Thank God for y'all spiritual next door homie for everybody that I'm here. But you know what I'm saying? Unfortunately, without knowing what's actually going on spiritually, you could waste your whole life ultimately being a people pleaser. But in your own mind, you're proving something. You're trying to prove how good you is. When you have to be cutthroat, you're being extremely cutthroat. And these are all trains of thought and a lot of reasons that you're making things harder than a lot more smoother if you understand starting points and ground basis that everybody's supposed to be a little bit more open to spiritualities that we could be understanding in today's time. You see what I'm saying? But for the most part, that's just as a disclaimer, so you don't get too lost and just think, well, damn, I was born naturally, so it's always going to be this way. No, but it is a starting point that you on, regardless if you're on the creative end or if you're on the lack of end. Lack of end. There's still a particular starting point that you're on, and it doesn't matter. You can't fight against that, no matter how much you can show. You might try to show your creativity in the area, and a person may get the wrong. You might get the wrong reaction. They may think you showing off or you're doing too much. They'll find any way to justify why you shouldn't be in that position or whatever, because that wasn't your starting point. So that ain't where how you supposed to be led there or whatever. You're supposed to accumulate a starting point from your great beginnings. And a lot of times this is all the way down to birth also. That's why this live stream is important. But for the most part, like I said, natural womb birth means your beginnings of a situation should start off as traditional or regular way of doing something, because if you're going against the grain at any birth of it or any start of a situation, trying to go against the grain will only cause creation, destruction, and the situation would not have no birth to it. It would not grow. It'd be something that you eventually hate that you got stuck in some way, shape, or form. So you're supposed to be the representation or the standard of how to go about something regularly. C-section, birth means the beginnings. Now C-section, birth means your beginnings, you had to cut corners or find another way. So doing things traditionally or the regular way actually holds you back or put you behind or last in something, due to the fact you're supposed to be the example of how we can take another route in a subject matter or something or action. Oh, so that's when it comes into the C-section, due to the fact of even how you was born. People around you, along with your own thought, all had to come up with decisions of there had to be another route for you to come out other than the regular way. So you could be a person that's in the starting intent filtering glasses of negative or positive or whatever the case. If you look at it from a frame of thought of being negative, then you just think, oh, well, regular ways is the only way of how things get done. So you don't know how to be a pioneer or whatever the case, which all ones could be pioneers. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a lot of people who cut corners who ain't got no business cutting corners, and whoever brings some new traditional or a regular way of doing things again, it become refreshing or whatever the case may be. So all positions got the aspect of leading to the same positive outcome. So I want nobody to think about that. Then you can look at it as positive if you're coming from a positive lens or whatever the case may be. A shortcut isn't necessarily a shortcut to manipulate or whatever. It's kind of creating a more unique way of doing something when something become too outdated, or when something become too traditional, or when something become too, like, it look like too many people doing the same thing or something like that. So it's based upon how you look at it and how you attack circumstances and situations. But if you was born through a C-section and you know that, having this train of thought and line of reasoning have you ahead of the game, because you understand when you're starting to participate with a situation or start something, that's a concept of birth. So these awarenesses play out in all actions of life. So even if you believe it or not, when you start to look at things like a mechanism, you could put it to the test for yourself and you could see it, how it play out in reality, even when it's not reality. It's just you crafting a situation, acting it out in reality, and that different ideology that you attack the situation with makes all the difference. And then you'll be able to sit back and be like, okay, now I'm starting to see what spirituality is, not necessarily what someone who didn't rock me to sleep and colonize my brain to go ahead and put some money in the upside down bucket hat, you know what I'm saying, somewhere in church. You know what I'm saying? They call it a collection plate. You know what I'm saying? But for the most part, yeah, so the C-section, it just means that, and here's the thing, right? Think about the times in your life you, and here's another thing, right? This is another disclaimer, because you could think about the times in your life when you're starting something, but based on these pretenses, because all of them have the same type of situation, just at their own starting point, right? The natural womb make it go back and be like, yeah, every time I try to do something slightly different, thinking that I was gonna get away like this other person, I got caught first, or I made a mistake first, or I was salty. Now, when it comes into the C-section, so it's like with you always gonna want to do the energy that you ain't until you learn how to be what you are that you don't see around you. You have to be what you don't got outside of you, not try to find what you think you don't have, because you're the walking version of what you think you don't have. You're supposed to develop it, and what you're going through is the problem that that thing have on a positive or a negative end for that thing to be that thing. So you lose yourself when you try to find what you think you need and you're not it. So it also play out like the C-section in its way. You're going to find yourself yearning to do things more of the regular way, or sit back and separate yourself if you can't, and just be like, it ain't something I could do because I don't got that with it, or that thing look like it comes with this, or that nepotism, or this grouping, or this time, and I ain't got that, so forget it, or whatever. And that's where you fall short at, and things of that nature. And you'll start to realize all your successful points is when you did what you wanted to do, but you had enough courage to do it your own way without getting blinded by all the distractions of, oh, ain't nobody gonna like it because everybody like it how I'm seeing it from, that's the only example I got. So I don't think, you see what I'm saying? So for the most part, you'll be in that energy of not creating or not being a pioneer, and that's where those people be in those type of positions and things of that nature. So you'll get into wanting or yearning to do it a familiar way, whatever that you're looking at, and you develop in your mind, that's the stationary way of doing something, or that's the standard way of doing something. And then you fight trying to learn how to do it the standard way while developing all this new creative way you're unsure about. And it takes you to go through minor situations where when these like new ways that you got peak a little bit, and another person had to be like, that's dope. And then you have to feel safe enough to fully go with it that other route. But if you ain't around no good people, you ain't around no supportive family, friends, and you like a loner or whatever the case may be, you will never find what you already have and what you already supposed to do. You just lack the motivation to do it because you yearn to do the thing that you're not. And the thing that you try to look for, the thing that you think you need. So you need someone, you always going to be, if you're in a negative position, you always going to think you need somebody to cut corners for you to be somewhere. You always think somebody got to do something that ain't normal in order for you to be in a position. So then you start questioning, would you even be burdens on people or not when it comes into maybe a business field or whatever the case may be. You see what I'm saying? Natural womb, y'all in the other way. Y'all yearn to do things in a cut corner way until you have to realize, man, my best ways and my best situations and my best relationships was when I just did it regular. When I just did it. Why does I keep trying to eat more than my stomach, my mouth bigger than my eyes, or whatever the case may be? You know what I'm saying? Stomach bigger than my mouth, whatever y'all say that term. So a lot of times that's what the natural womb go through. Now, when it comes into the premature birth means your beginnings deal with prejudges, being unsure, or making quick decisions, or extreme anxiety from being rushed about something. These are the things or energies you have to learn how to slow down and develop and conduct more sufficiently. You have to learn how to not get so upset when you're being rushed, and so that Russian energy can be filtered towards your goals, and you can start to accept rushing for things, because a lot of times premature signs can get in the habit of procrastinating. And don't like when you're being rushed, because a lot of times your life get into a situation where family, friends, associates, or coworkers or life make you feel that sense of you have to rush to do it because you probably procrastinating too long. But if that rush energy could be guided and directed towards, if you develop a goal, or if you got people that in your life that can set you on paths, or supportive people and things of that nature, then you can learn how to start rushing to get things done, and don't leave things premature, because it can leave out in that habit too, where you start things and don't finish it. And a lot of times you do start things, and when you finish it, you over exaggerate the pressure that you was going through, and the emotional trauma you was going through, and all the pumping yourself up just to get it done or whatever. But really it was just you doing the starting and saying, okay, can somebody give me assistance? Because this is what I want to do. And ain't this what y'all want to do too? Ain't this what somebody else? Ain't this what you expect out of me? All right, I'm waiting for the assistance. Then when you get in that situation of having to go a little bit more extra on a percentage scale on your own, you over exaggerate the effort you're putting in, which is probably much the same amount of effort, or a little bit more that we all got to do still we get drink. But you still got to get something done. But then you might throw that on others. And that train of thought and line of reasoning come from the starting point of birth, premature birth, or whatever the case may be. Needing extra assistance, coming out too early, or something being pre-done, or whatever, not fully baked in the oven, or however the case may be. So this play out in different areas or different pockets in your life that you may be unrenowned to, that you experiencing. A lot of people who was born natural womb, C-section, or prematurely throughout the day that got these same issues and things of that nature. But is this another filter to look through life at, to be able to have more control over yourself and over other individuals, that you can see these minor, small mustard seeds of characteristics that ultimately develop as what we're extremely distracted with once it's already a tree and grew off goddamn the Avengers, the fruit and things of that nature, and now we already lost into it because it's in the physical. You know what I'm saying? No, the Galaxy of the Star-Lord and Galaxy of the whatever that movie is. You know what I'm saying? Guardians of the Galaxy. So when it comes into premature birth, this means beginnings deal with prejudging, but being unsure or making quick decisions, or extreme anxiety from being rushed about something. These are things you have to learn how to develop and slow down. Slow down that prejudging energy. Slow down that quick making decision energy, because when it comes to quick making decision energies, a lot of times it be filtered through just you accepting the first collection or first groups of thoughts and feelings that pop up in your mind when you're dealing with people, places, and things. And you become more sure about these things faster than other individuals. And here's the thing, there's positive and negative scenarios that play out from all these positions. There's times you're going to be highly validated, that you could kind of compilate as a compilation throughout your previous experiences, that make you feel like, okay, I'm right when I see things in this way or whatever. But then when you do reach that wrong situation, it'd be a little bit more extreme than another person who was like kind of doing things a little bit more smoother in their life when they was running in those situations that may have been right and going in their favor, running in those situations that may have been wrong, and they made a mistake. But it was they was balancing it out more on a percentage scale. So their worst ain't your worst. Their best ain't your best. But you got to work hard, to be extremely hard, for you to consider what's your best, and get burnt out. So when it's time to do it again, can't work extremely hard at things of that nature. Get extremely reactionary when you're going through something that didn't go in your favor and things of that nature, when you could have took it a little bit more easier. But you see what I'm saying? So it's like you're not living life as an easy ride. You're living life on extremes. Extreme water wave, extreme vibration, frequency, the thought, the future, the fire. Then it accumulate and become the vibration. It start moving. Then that picture, fire frequency, but start to turn into motion picture, emotion. Now, so the frequency is vibing now, vibration. And then once that do that as a mechanism, emanate, collect, emanate, collect, emanate, collect. And now that's life. And then we actually could see something wiggling, a snake or whatever. Is that energy or is that a bat? Oh, so, you know, it's just about accumulation. So you can look at future as fire, right? emanating. You can look at past as water, vibration, soaking into what was just in the future. Now you're reminiscing on it, or you're being aware of it, or you're submerged in it, right? And then that plays out as a mechanism, and now it creates energy, stimuli. You can actually feel, think. You know what I'm saying? These are just experiences. You know what I'm saying? That you do in the mental world and the physical world, that you create spiritually in this existence we all share, just all different worlds, aka different minds. And I love all y'all from the bottom of my heart. Flight boss, me, you know, for sure. You're not listening to the Mind of an Antares Moon. I am the Royal Archangel Uriel, and I'm here to carry out God duties and motherfucking responsibilities. Don't go for that. Rector Swah, hell, hold that yellow hoop. Massasoit, Mama in a toy. Masasaki.